Hello all, Jamie Rogers here from Jamie Rogers Crafts, and today I thought we'd have a go at making this very simple and easy card. This really isn't very complicated at all, and it's just playing around with our Night Sky Navy Elite cardstock, our Silver Mirror card, foiled panels. These are our foil inkable panels. We're also going to be using the Opulent tree stencils and the Happy Christmas circle sentiment as well. So to begin with then, let's have a little look at what we've got. We're going to be playing with the Happy Christmas die set. This has 3 different dies in this one. We have our filigree insert sentiment panel. We have our outside edge, meaning that we can leave that in our card, or we can use the edge to trim it out. We then have our decorative panel running around the outside of it, and these are interchangeable between all of the circle sentiments. So whether you've got the Merry Christmas, the Happy Christmas, the With Love, or of course the Happy Birthday, you can interchange all of the edges with them. So lots of freedom to play around with those. We're then going to actually be looking at the tree stencils, but I've brought the die in here for you as well, because it's nice for you to see that the stencils, the designs match perfectly with the die set. So there's a lot of ways in which you can build up scenes and get creative with these, going between the stencil set and of course the die set. Now they're 2 separate products. So we've got our die, of course, which is JRC D0016, and then you've got your Opulent tree stencil set. Now the stencil set does match quite nicely with the tree die. If I bring in this board here, the gold is cut from the die, and then the stencil has actually been done in the background using just the outside edge. So I've placed the outside edge on, I've done my colouring, and then I've put the tree die over the top. Now you will receive a little halo around the side of it. That is intentional. It hopefully sets off your design, gives you a really lovely effect. Of course, you've also got your filigree insert for each of your stencils. So you might prefer to use this part to actually do your inking and your decorating, but it's lovely to also give you them outside frames. Now, as you can see, you've got 3 sizes. We've got the very large, we've got the medium, and then we've got the nice dinky little small one. We're going to be using the small one on today's demo, but actually all 3 of them come together for you in one pack, giving you the options to play around and layer them and make different creations with them. Now, one thing I would really like to remind you whenever we're talking about stencils is that we can emboss these through our die cutting machines. So if you take your stencil and you put on top your card, then a rubber, foam or tan mat, depending on what your machine says, and send it through, you will find that it will push the card down into the apertures on the stencil, and you will end up with this beautiful embossed pattern. And these trees, as you can see, look really, really beautiful if done in that way. You can also use your outside edges. So if we take the filigree one out of the way and we use this one, send it through the machine in the same way as what I just said, you're going to end up with an embossed tree like so. This can be quite nice to then be able to take on your stencil, place that over the top and ink, and you know that you've got that little raised dimension. You could of course put texture paste through these as well and create different effects with them. It's also quite handy if you do want to ink over the top of this one, that you have that frame to bring in, put over there, and then that's going to protect your white space from around your tree as well. So if you've not seen these set of stencils before, they really are a lot of fun and you can do an awful lot with them. So let's get to our demo, shall we? Let's actually pick out the bits we're going to be using. So I'm going to use, I've saved the medium, we're going to use the small tree. Me and my memory not good. I'm going to bring in one of our foiled panels. Now these are purposely designed with several thoughts in mind really. What I wanted is foiled details on uncoated cardstock. Usually when I've seen foiled panels before or foiled cardstock, they're usually on a coated card, and that limits so much of what we can do with them. Having uncoated card means that we can stamp on these, we can ink on them, we can colour them as we wish to. So if we want our projects to match, you want to coordinate this with your layers, your stamping, anything else, you can ink over them. It also means they're great for stenciling on top of as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to bring in that outside edge to begin with, and we're going to stand this on the gold line, so that we just hide that just slightly, and we're going to bring it over actually so we're not going over the foil here, because we don't want that to sort of repel the ink and then be left with a line in our tree. We're going to anchor this down with a small amount of tape. I'm not going to push down too hard because I don't want to damage the card. And we're also going to add a little bit down the bottom here as well, just to hold that in place while we play. I'm then going to bring in some blending brushes. I love working with blending brushes, and these are great to be working with with these stencils, and we'll start off actually with chipped sapphire. I'm going to play around with the colours to be different to what's actually on the card I've created, so you can see different colourways as well. And we're going to load up our blending brush with the chipped sapphire distress ink. Now I am going to find myself a little bit of card so that I can hold that against the side, just so I can make sure I don't go over the edges, because we don't want to go over the side onto the rest of our card blank. And we're going to go in with a circular motion and add down that colour. Now, of course, you can be as intense or as light as you wish to be. I'm going to go quite light with this one. I don't want it to be too dark because I want to be able to ink on top of it. Now, oxides are great as a secondary layer because of the way they're sort of designed and the way they work. The colour will sit on top of the colour we've added down, so that we'll still see that one as well. I really like using oxide inks over embossed pearl card for that reason, especially darker tones, because you can take the ink over the top and you'll get that sort of ink colour stay on top of it, which I think looks really lovely. We'll just lift this side up slightly and place that down in that side. We'll go back in with our ink over this side of our tree. Now, of course, you've got a lot of options here with products. It doesn't have to just be inks. You could be using your polishes, your texture paste, your misters, whatever it is you like to be working with. We'll add that down and give us that first layer for our tree. Now, obviously, if I remove this at this stage, we're going to have this lovely silhouette style of a tree in place. But actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in our stencil and I'm going to place that back into the middle. Now, this is a great way of holding that in place because we wouldn't necessarily want to tape that down on its own and cover over the edges. So this is quite a great way to make sure that that's going to stay there for us while we go in with our next colour. So I'm going to be using Distress Oxide Uncharted Mariner for this layer, and we're going to keep the tree there and we're going to go over the top of this. Now, as I say, these are different shades to what I've done on my finished project, but it's nice for you to see different ways for them to build up. And this is also a different colour panel that I'm using this time. I've gone for the gold to share with you on this one. On the finished example, I used silver as my foiled panel, but that's again choices we've got. The panels also come in circles too, so I've chose to use the squares, but there are also circles available. So again, you might wish to put different scenes in there. You might even wish to bring in something like our Christmas scene stencils and use those to build up behind this or in front of it, whether that be on the square design or of course on the circles. And we'll just take our tape off of the top. We can then take our two stencils out of the way here. Let's get that little one out first of all. Let's not try and be clever. Guaranteed I'll end up with a fingerprint somewhere if I do. Then on top of that, another part to mention with our panels here is I wanted them to have extra large edges because I knew that you're going to want to create more with them than what I'm necessarily sharing with you today. So the idea here is that you could score these, you could turn these into box tops, you could turn them into shaker cards, you could die cut out of the middle panel here and have that as an aperture, you could use them as inserts on your cards, you could trim across 3 sides and then put like a ring binder or put ribbon through it and turn it into a little album if you want to. There's just lots of ways I wanted you to be able to take these panels and create with them. So giving you that extra room around the side gave you the ability to pick where you wanted to take them instead of cutting them too small. For my card, I have trimmed my panel down. So I've got the gold one here again, and I have actually trimmed this down quite a bit. Let's bring in a rule so I can give you some measurements. This is 6 1/4 inches, which is approximately just over 15.5 centimeters to give you some rough ideas. So we'll take that one out of the way for the second, and let's bring in our pieces for our card so that we can build this one up. So again, let's give you a measurement actually on our card blank. I think I've gone for what's packed as an 8x8 card blank, which is actually just about 1/4 Yeah, so we're 1/4 for our card blank, stepping down to 7.5 for our night sky navy, 7 1/4 for our polar white topper to go on top of that one. We're then going to bring in a piece of gold mirror card because the version we're making is the gold version instead of silver, and this is 7 inches as a square. I've used some of my 2mm foam tape on the reverse of this just to give this panel a little bit of a lift, and we're going to bring that in and place that down, hopefully in the middle. Never guaranteed, but we'll hope it's roughly there. We're then going to step down again with our night sky navy. Now this again is our elite cardstock, so it's a lovely 300 GSM weight, and is great for your mats and layers. It's also good for construction and building, and it's also great for die cutting as well as stamping on top of or embossing. I'm going to place that one down just on the top of there. Then from here we can go to our actual panel, and again I've put some 2mm foam tape on the reverse of this. I didn't want this card to be too deep, but if you wanted to, of course, you could build it up further, add in more layers and more depth. And we're going to place that one down into the centre of this panel, purposely keeping a slightly larger edge. Now, one thing you might notice is I've gone in with a gold gel pen, and I've just gone around the edge of the star just to pick that gold out slightly further and bring that star slightly more to the forefront. Of course, if you wanted to, you could go in and add some dots and doodles and really bring that whole Christmas tree out even further if you wish to. To finish this one off, we're going to bring in our sentiments. Now, I'm going to use the Happy Christmas sentiment, but there is actually two choices in the new Christmas release. There is Happy Christmas and Merry Christmas. And one of the things I would always say with our sentiment collection is the more you collect, the more options you have. And that is because the outside edges are different with each of our circle sayings. So this one has the postage stamp edge that comes with it. The Merry Christmas, for instance, has this lovely sort of fluted decal scallop style edge, and of course they're interchangeable between the designs, so the more you've got, the more you can interchange them. In the actual sets themselves, you get 3 dies. You receive your filigree sentiment panel, you receive that fancy edge panel, and you receive a flat edge die panel, so that you can leave this in your cardstock, or you can use the circle to trim it out, and then you also have one to mat it onto or to cut it out of. And again, you can interchange these panels between the different designs. Of course, the Merry Christmas is very similar to that in the way it works, but of course it's got that different edge, and Merry, not Happy Christmas. So I've gone ahead and I've coloured this with some inks just to match in with the colours I've been using, and I'm going to use some of my Dries Clear glue to add this down onto the white panel. So we don't recommend you use this on your skin. This is one of them times I'm going to tell you not necessarily to do what I'm doing, but I find it very easy to just pat this across the edge there, make sure that my sentiment is on there nice and firmly. And with our Dries Clear glue, I know even if I get a little bit too much come out of the edges of it, it's going to dry clear and it won't matter. But of course, I'm taking that off my skin so that I don't have to worry about it being left on there in case of any reaction. So do a little patch test if that's something you're going to do, and of course wash it off as soon as you can. We're then going to add more glue onto the reverse of this panel to hold that down in place on top of my postage stamp edger. Now this actually always gives me sort of cog vibes to it as well. So possibly if you're into steampunk and that style, you could really use this panel in them projects too. I've also gone ahead in here and added in a gold star once again, just with my gel pen to finish that off. And we're going to bring this in and just tuck this off to one side. And that completes a very simple, very easy card. And I'm going to bring back this one as well, just so you can see the difference between the gold and the silver. Because if you might be like me, I'm going to be honest, confession time, I always radiate towards gold more than silver. Some colours that like blue, I do prefer a silver to gold. But left to my own devices, 9 out of 10 times I will radiate towards gold mirror cards and foils instead of silver. But I know that's one of them things, isn't it? We all have our favourite. So let me know in the comments, what do you prefer? Are you a silver person or a gold person when it comes to your crafting? And as always, if you've got any questions, please don't hesitate to pop them in the comments too, and I'll do my very best to answer them for you. If you would like to get hold of any of the dies, the stencils, the cardstock that I've been using and talking about throughout this video, and you don't already have a favourite Jamie Rogers Craft stockist, pop on to www.jamierogerscraft.com, and there's a stockist guide on there where you'll be able to find your favourite local stockist or online supplier. Thank you very much for watching today. I look forward to seeing you all again very, very soon. Bye for now.